Today, we're going to talk all about financial prosperity and how it relates to every single area of your life. And in order to best do this, we brought on an expert in financial prosperity, and her name is Dawna Campbell. Dawna's coming at us from all the way over in Montana. And for those who don't know Dawna, she has helped people around the world live the life that they desire and deserve. She's the #1 international best-selling author of Financially Fit: Living the Secrets to an Abundant and Prosperous Life. She's been a financial advisor and a managing principal of an investment firm, and she now mentors and empowers heart-centered business owners and entrepreneurs like you to realign your inner balance to gain infinite prosperity. How awesome does that sound? With over 25 years of experience, she has shared the stage with notable individuals such as Lisa Nichols, Dr. Joe Vitale, Sharon Lechter, and Kevin Harrington. So a lot of big names there. She has been featured on Fox News, NBC, the Los Angeles Tribune, Yahoo Finance, and Roku TV. And check it out. She's here today to share the hidden universal secrets from natural healers all over the world that has earned her the title of the Mind Whisperer, for creating instantaneous results for you to step into your power and gain infinite happiness and prosperity. Dawna, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here with us today.
Wow. And thank you, Brandon, for having me here on the Be Better podcast. I'm really excited this morning.
It is an absolute pleasure. And from that introduction there, I got to ask you, these universal secrets from natural healers, what are those? And can you tell us a bit about them?
A lot of what I've been shown from the different natural healers, and what I mean by a natural healer is I've studied with medicine women, I've studied with shamans, yogic healers. I lived in an ashram for a year, which is a spiritual living community. And it's a compilation of all the different teachings that they had. So when I was studying with a Zen Buddhist monk, he taught me how to embody meditation as a lifestyle. It's not something that you do just for 5 minutes or 20 minutes a day. It's a way to live, and it's a way to alter the brain waves to live in that state of being. When I studied with the medicine woman, she taught me how to see and understand the energy world and physically see the energy world, but how to use that to create an inner balance to make change for other people. Wow. So it's a lot of the unseen world that we don't know about.
So this unseen world that we don't know about, you know, it seems to me when I was in my late teens is when I was first introduced to the world of personal development and the law of attraction and The Secret and all of these Eastern ideas that we just don't talk about in Western society unless you follow very specific people who talk about these things. And I'm sure that you've worked and talked and coached and had clients that were brand new to this idea, and they might have been very successful business executives or entrepreneurs. I guess my question is, why is it that why do you believe that we aren't educated of these things in Western society, and that we're just hearing about it more so in today's age?
I think a lot of it has to do with our own culture and our own environments, because we are a very results-based society. So we get caught up in the doing. I have to keep doing, get to the next level. That's the measure of success. I have to do this. We don't take time out to really center and focus and internalize. And when you do that, that is where that power is, to utilize that unseen world. And our culture just didn't teach that to us, because it's about results, it's about success, it's about getting ahead, it's about the next dollar. And to go inside was, oh, you're lazy, you're this, you're that, you're not doing anything. But that is the state of mind we need to be in order for the doing side to come together. And I believe it has to do all with how our masculine and feminine brains work together, our left hemisphere and our right hemisphere.
Very interesting. I definitely want to revisit the masculine and feminine brain for sure. But before we do that, I want to ask you, so you've been coined the Mind Whisperer, and
Yes.
I've watched a lot of interviews and videos that you've done where you've been called this and talk about this. Where did that name come from, and what exactly does that mean?
Where it originated from was a friend of mine had asked me what did I did for a living. And I explained how I start with a conscious thought. I find the thought behind the thought behind the thought to the original thoughts to find the emotional energy that was giving that thought the fuel. And then in that and how the brain works, we can make an energetic change to create an outcome for the other person. And they just looked at me and went, I really don't know what you said, but it's like you're a mind whisperer because you work on thoughts and the brain. And it's like a dog whisperer or a horse whisperer where you can energetically work with and communicate and make those changes to get the correct behavior to get the result that you're wanting to have. The media heard, picked it up, and it hasn't left me since.
Very cool. I love that. So let me just make sure that I heard you right there. So is it you help people with their thoughts, or is it your thoughts influence other people, or both? Or exactly what are the power of our thoughts when it comes to the results that we get and the quality of the life that we live?
Well, our power of our thought is incredibly powerful. However, that's only about 10% of your own reality. So if you imagine you're driving a car, your car is like your thought. Now they say in the law of attraction, change your thoughts, change your life, your thoughts create your reality. But today I could drive my Toyota and tomorrow I could drive my Jeep and the next day, maybe I'll drive a Lexus, right? I can keep changing my thought, but there's something that needs to have that thought move forward. So in a car, you have to have gas, right? For it to be put in. And then different cars take different types of gas. So there's regular, there's unleaded, there's different grades, there's diesel, there's electric, there's hybrid, there's corn oil cars, hydrogen. What happens if you don't put the right fuel in the car?
Yeah, it's not going to run very well.
It's not going to go very far. It's going to stop. You're going to have to replace the engine, right? So our thoughts are fueled by something. And that fuel for us humans is our feelings and emotions. And that is what propels that thought into action. So a lot of times people will say, I want to create more money, for example, but yet more money never comes. Why is that? Because the feeling underneath is, I'm not enough. I'm not worth it. I don't deserve it. Now that is 90% of the process is the feeling and the emotion, because without it, it's not going to come into existence. Now, 10% of the time, we're only consciously aware of this process happening. So our subconscious records everything from the moment we're born to the moment that we exit this earth, assigning these feelings and emotions to prior events to create a pattern for us to live by. Scientists measured Albert Einstein's brain and his awareness level was 10%. So the other 90%, we don't know what's happening. So we don't know that we don't have the correct fuel 90% of the time to the thought we are thinking to have it come back to us.
So much was just said there. That's so powerful. So if the fuel is our emotions, and I have to agree with everything that you just said, because I come from the world of sales. And a lot of people, everybody says, oh, I want to earn more money and I want to have this amount of money. But when you really dig in with those individuals, they have this negative association with money. It's like it's a bad thing to them to have too much money, or they look at people with a lot of money and they think, oh, they must have done something nefarious to get there. They must have taken advantage of other people. Just from working, I feel that a lot of people I've seen do have this, including myself at one point, this disadvantaged emotion behind money, an emotion of lack, an emotion of scarcity, to the point where there was a point in my life when I was talking to you about this before the show, where I was earning a lot of money, but I had no idea what to do with it, right? I wasn't saving it. I wasn't investing it. And even though I was earning a lot, I just kept spending it and spending it and spending it and always thinking to myself, I never have enough. I never have enough, to the point where I would look at my bank account. I would take my phone out, pull open the application for my bank. And every time I did it, it would give me that sinking feeling in my stomach. And that was the fuel that I was operating my thoughts with at the time, with this negativity and this fear. in a sense.
Right.
So the question I have for you is, where do you think that bad fuel, those emotions, come from when it comes to the way that we confront our finances?
Mhm. From a couple of different places. The main place that it comes from is how we grew up. So, how our parents talked about money or didn't talk about money, or how they felt about it, even when you were little, firstborn, 2 years old, 4 years old, you felt and absorbed all of that. So, however your parents were or your caretakers were, you absorbed that in the environment, and it set the stage for you to start interacting with money. Then, too, we probably didn't educate our children on what to do, how to save, how to write a check, how to do any of that. And even the ones that did, it was still that everyday experience that they had around money. Another place comes from genetics and from history, because if you come from a family of, I have to work hard to get money, for example, you're always going to have to work hard to get money. It's not going to come to you easily. If there was always a lack mentality, then it's going to be handed down genetically, and there's going to be a lack mentality. And that's the whole study of epigenetics, of how our beliefs and the feelings associated with the beliefs get passed down from generation to generation.
So what is it we can do then to change this, if it's even possible? How can we change this programming that's been passed down to us through our ancestry and our genetics? Like, what can we do if we know that we have a negative association, right? We know that we want to earn more money. We know that this is holding us back. I guarantee a lot of people listening are thinking, this is exactly the situation that I'm in right now. Like me personally, my parents were hardworking people. My mom was a waitress for years and years. She did daycare for years and years, always working hard. My dad was in construction, owns his own construction company, does well for himself even now, but he's working every single day, using his body in the cold weather, all these different things. And that did translate to me in my early years. It did translate to me getting a job when I was 13, working and always having a job, always working hard and earning money, because that's really what we're taught, right? Go to school, get a job, work really hard, earn money, pay off these student loans. It seems as if society and the culture that we live in endorses this idea of hard work. And we could talk forever about why that is, but I think the more constructive question would be, how can we change this programming that we have?
Mm-hmm. Nikola Tesla said that if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. And this is one of the secrets that the medicine woman taught me. She taught me a strategy called pivot and shift. So when you recognize that you are in one particular energy, meaning emotion or feeling, you can stop yourself and shift it to something more positive. Now, it's a while on a conscious level to do that, but the key to that is the awareness, because all possibilities in every single moment exist. So if there's anger in a moment, there's love in a moment. If there's a lack mentality in a moment, then there's an abundant and prosperous and plentiful energy in that same moment. It's just that our conscious awareness got focused on the lower vibration instead of the higher vibration. And this is some of the work that I do with my clients, is we uncover what from the feeling is back down to the original event that got the feeling associated with it, and say they were in a moment of frustration. And when we uncover that, we can find out also what they needed and what the positive words were at that time. And then through energy, vibration, and frequency, yes, my thoughts can affect their thoughts, but it is the frequency of the good higher feeling that makes that shift and change with them. It's in the synapse between the two brain neurons, and they will feel the energetic chemical change within their body within a moment. And when we relook at that event, say the frustration is gone, they're going to see it from a different point of view, like respect or a sense of accomplishment, whatever they needed in the moment, because that frequency existed then too. They just got stuck on the frustration. So then when you come back into present day, the fuel is, I have respect, I have the pride, I have sense of accomplishment, instead of, oh no, I'm frustrated and I'm a failure. Because we taught the brain, the different feeling that it needed in the moment.
From what you said, it sounds like when we're having those emotions, then to stop and be aware of those emotions and to be conscious that we're having that feeling. So if this was younger me, 6, 7 years ago, and I opened my banking application and I was like, I'm broke, right? I see a negative mark right there. Then in that moment, what would you have suggested to me who wanted more, who was an achiever, who was working hard, but I saw that negative symbol? What would be like the first step that you would advise me if I was your client at the time?
The very first thing I would ask you is when you saw that it was negative and broke, what did you feel?
Despair. I felt failure and I felt fear.
Yeah, where do you feel that at in your body?
It's hard to go back there and really revisit that, but
But just
I'd probably, yeah.
yeah, in this
I'd probably
moment,
say like in my stomach area, like that
yeah,
sinking feeling.
that sinking feeling. So when you were 6, what event happened that you felt despair in that energy, that sinking feeling? Yes, you opened up the bank statement, for example, but that probably wasn't what you did at 6. There was probably a different event that despair got associated with. And that's the event I want to know about. And it's not that you're reliving or re-experiencing the feelings. It's just, well, this is what happened. I got in trouble and my dad was mad at me. So I felt less than. So I felt the despair, for example. And then I'd ask you what it was that you needed. So what would you need instead of despair?
Someone to comfort me, someone to tell me, hey, you're in a bad spot right now, but things are going to be okay. Maybe just someone to tell me because things are okay now. Like I got out of that situation. And
So,
I guess that's probably what I would have needed.
so comfort. So what does comfort feel like to you? How would you describe
Comfort, I would have to say it feels like it's like a warm feeling, kind of like when, someone gives you a hug and it's like a nice hug and you feel safe, you feel loved.
it? Mhm.
I'd feel like an all-around feeling of warmth is what I'd say comfort would feel
Okay.
like.
So what happened then was your subconscious created a pattern that you have to go through the energy of despair to feel that warm, comforted, safe feeling of a hug all around. And no matter what, for you to get to that comforted, warm, safe feeling, you always have to go through despair. So that's when I would come in, I would ask to enter your space, and I would ask you if you would want to keep that warm, comforted, safe, hug all around feeling without despair and all of the other things you experienced. And when you say yes, that change automatically happens in your brain. So now we're only left with these really good feelings without the pathway because you already learned it that way. You don't have to do that anymore. Now you can just be in this other energy. And then when you open up that bank statement, it doesn't say you're broke with a negative feeling. It says that you have plenty and extra with a little positive sign there. And that's how it looks.
So it's literally like you're reprogramming these emotions and past experiences inside of our body, our mind
Right.
together.
Because in every moment, every possibility always existed. Your subconscious only got stuck on the feeling emotion of the lower because it was teaching you something better, but it got stuck there. So we unstick that mind, we unstick that energy behind the thought and put in the one that you needed. So you're absolutely right. And that's why I get called the mind whisperer because I'm working on that level.
That's amazing. Would you say that the ideas we're talking about right now, would you say this applies to every other area of life as well in the same way?
Right. It does. We're all vibrational beings and we're always constantly sending out signals. We're like radio towers walking around. We're sending out signals and picking up signals. So it doesn't matter what category or what area of life you are working on, it will shift and change all areas. So even if we're working on the category of wealth, for example, your health will improve, your relationships will get better. And most of the time when someone has something they want to change in the wealth category, It's because of a relationship. They want to do something for their family or a loved one or have a better lifestyle, which is a relationship. And then when you get down, they're like, oh, is that why I had this with my thyroid? And you're like, well, yeah, kind of, because it all intersects. If someone comes to me for the health category, same thing. We're changing on a vibrational level, and that's going to change the other areas as well, because the universe is only reading that 90% of the feeling energy you put out. So if you have resistance in one area of your life, say, I'm no longer going to date this person, I'm going to resist them, I'm going to push them back. You start doing that with your health, and it starts happening in your money. And then pretty soon you have resistance in all areas of your life. But when that resistance changes, it opens up the doorway everywhere else, because the universe is going, oh, resistance, here, have more. And you're like, but no, it's only in this category. And the universe is like, well, we don't subdivide, we don't categorize, we just know it's resistance. We don't know this box, but not that one. It doesn't read it like that. It's all or nothing. Really, at the end.
Gotcha. Okay. So I know these are some foreign concepts to some people who are listening. They're hearing this for the first time. It's like when I watched The Secret for the first time, I was like, what does that even mean? And it was very woo-woo in a sense. And I didn't believe it, but I was at the point in my life where I couldn't afford not to believe it. I had to change something. And from what you said, really, if 90% of it is the feeling and the emotion that we're giving out and 10% are the thoughts, it sounds like one of our objectives is to feel good as often as possible. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Happiness is on the inside. Yes.
Okay. And that will help us with our money, with every area of our life. And the first step to reprogramming those habits without having you to work with me one-on-one, right, would be to be conscious and would be to be aware of those thoughts and aware of those feelings as they happen.
Absolutely true.
Would you have any tips because I remember when I first started doing this, Rhonda Byrne talks about the phrase, remember to remember, remember to ask yourself, how am I feeling in this moment? I just feel like a lot of us are going through life on autopilot right now. I feel like a lot of us are just like, even myself, like I'm probably only conscious of my day, maybe 5% of my day, and that's being generous. And that 5% is when I have a moment to think and be with myself. And I say to myself, wow, like I have been living my entire day, like without even realizing it. It's like when you drive home from work and it's automatic and you get home and you don't remember the drive, you don't remember what happened. What would you recommend to us to help us to be more conscious of our emotions more often so that we could even accelerate this process?
A lot of it is, how do you feel inside, the internal awareness? So it is that assessment, just like what Rhonda Byrne said, remember to check in with yourself. And I would, since we don't always remember, set a timer or an alarm on my phone. And then every hour and a half, when it goes off, stop, take a breath. How do I feel? And then when you recognize how do you feel in the moment, if there's a little bit of stress or worry or pressure, stop and ask yourself, what is the opposite of that? And it might be the clarity. It might need to be focused. It might just need to be calmness or recentredness. And then once you recognize that, you can do a quick little breathing exercise if you choose. So when you identify the good thing that you want, when you breathe in, we're breathing in oxygen, all the good things our body needs. So you're going to breathe in the positive word, such as calmness. And then when you breathe out, we're breathing out carbon dioxide, all the toxins and things we don't want, say stress. So you go calmness, stress, and only do that and breathe like that maybe for a minute or two. You can watch the timer on your phone and it will refocus. It'll take the stress pressure response out of the body. You'll come back to a centered, calm feeling. You'll have more focus and clarity, and you can finish your task at hand. But the biggest thing is that awareness and seeing how you feel in the moment. You might sit there and go, oh no, I'm really happy in this moment. And you don't need to do anything. But if you're not, identify what you do want. Practice the breathing for a minute or two. It will change your whole physiological body.
Do you think that anyone is too far gone? And when I say that, I mean the people who say I've been depressed for 10, 15 years. I'm having bad luck after bad luck. I'm having obstacle after obstacle. Do you think anyone's too far gone, or is it that they just might have some more self-work to do?
I don't think anybody is too far gone, and this works for anybody as long as it is something that you want. Um, Following the mind, following the patterns, the technique works. The person has to want it to be able to make those shifts and changes. The hardest people that I have ever worked on are the ones that have a belief that nothing works for me because it is so strong, and the denial of feelings. And they go, I don't feel. And you're like, I don't think you can be on this planet without a feeling. You're just in denial. But you can teach the person to feel. What it is that they are afraid of feeling their feelings because of something traumatic that had happened. That is also changeable. Anything that has been created in the body can be discreated and recreated differently.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's got to be very reassuring for even just one person out there who might have been saying what you said, I'm feeling that way. It's different for me. That won't work for me. So I appreciate you going into that.
Yeah.
And these principles and these techniques that you just shared are life-changing. And I know that because I've practiced some of them, and I'm going to adjust some of them to what you've mentioned because I can't wait to try it. So thanks for that. I guess the question is, like, now that we're more conscious, right? Now that we're practicing these, now that we're choosing how we want to feel instead and practicing those breathing exercises, and we're doing this for a week, it's been a month now, we're more conscious, and this is more automatic now. And we're seeing these little coincidences happen in our world now because of this self-work that we're doing. What else can we do when it comes to beginning to now build financial prosperity, build financial wealth? And I guess to really further tune in on this question, my question would be, do you believe in specific goals when it comes to earning money, or do you instead believe in letting the universe give you what the universe has already decided to give you? What are your thoughts there?
With goal setting, I'm going to go with what a instructor taught me about goals. I was taking a self-publishing course several years ago to determine whether or not I wanted to be a self-published author or if I wanted to go through a publishing company. And she said that oftentimes when people write down goals, they write down goals that they don't have any control over. So then when you don't meet the goal, you feel like you're a failure or that you're not going to be enough to have it. And she goes, here's my example. New authors always come in and say, I'm going to sell 20,000 books in 6 months. Well, unless you buy 20,000 books and hand them out, you're not going to sell 20,000 books. Unless you, people have free will. So unless you force 20,000 people to buy your book, you may not sell 20,000 books. You can't control that. It's not a goal. What you can say is, I am going to do 6 book fairs in 6 months. I'm going to go to X amount of bookstores and do so many book signings. I am going to do how many podcasts to share my book. Those are the things that you can control in goal setting. The result is often what we write down for the goal, but we don't get to always control the result. We get to control the action steps and the things that we can do to get to that result. And if you stay focused on those pieces of, I'm going to do so many book fairs, so many book signings, etc., things within your control, your result will be met and often larger. But if you stay focused on 10,000 books, you're focusing on the wrong thing. So your goal may not be obtained because your focus is there, putting in the wrong energy and the fuel of, how come I'm not making it? Versus, oh, no, I did exactly what I needed to do and my result will come from it. So hopefully that
Very
kind of,
interesting.
yeah.
And it's very, I love that you said that, because in the world that I come from, which is sales and activity and obviously results, you can't control whether somebody walks in, right? You can only control how well you take care of that individual when they're there. You can control your activity, you can control your output, your actions, but not specifically the results. But there's a lot of people out there, well-known people, some who have passed, some who are still here currently teaching, who say, only focus on the outcome, focus on the result. Don't worry. You've heard this. Don't worry about the how, right? Don't worry about how you're going to do something. Just focus on what you want and sit there and think about that. And if you think about it long enough, you might bring it into your world. And I think that's where a lot of people, with the law of attraction and the law of vibration and all those things, I feel like a lot of people get hung up there. And I definitely was at one point. So I guess, do you agree in a sense with don't focus on the how, or are you completely activity and action focused?
Yes, you have to see yourself in the outcome of the result that you're looking for. They say don't focus on the how, but when you are sitting in that energy with the end result, the how to method will come to you. But the how to method are the action steps that you need to take to come to your goal. I don't know about you, but I haven't been able to go like this yet and go red ball and have one instantly appear. It hasn't happened for me yet, but I work on that. So, in order for you to get to that end result that you're seeing, you're going to have to take those action steps. And those how to methods are going to be showing themselves. So then we stay focused on the how to method instead of the result of that part of the how to method. And then you will have exactly what you ask for.
So focus on what you can control.
Yes.
Be aware of your thoughts. Be aware of, more importantly, the 90%, which is your feelings. Be conscious of those. If you're not feeling the way you want to feel, ask yourself how you want to feel. And then, breathing exercises, whatever you need to do in order to feel good in that moment as often as possible. That's super powerful. And then just focus on what you can do and then take action towards those things. It's such a simple process and formula, but I don't remember a class in high school or college where we were taught these things. And I know some schools are introducing mindfulness and meditation and visualization into the curriculum, which is huge. But we need people like what you're doing to share these principles. And I find that a lot of people who talk about similar things, I feel like they had to go through something in their own life. Like for you, as an example, to even go to the ashram and spend a year there, which is extraordinary. Like what's your personal story? What led you down this road to now being an expert in this field, to being the mind whisperer? Like what brought Dawna Campbell to us today?
I was a financial advisor and a managing principal of an investment firm. And I was responsible for $500 million of other people's money. Now, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of stress. That's a lot of worry. That's a lot of pressure. And because of that, and the work environment that I was in, and my own personal environment, my stomach broke down and I wasn't able to digest food for about 2 years. And doctors in Western medicine were not able to figure out what was wrong with me. And so I sought out natural healing and I found a naturopathic doctor who practiced Chinese medicine. And that was when I discovered I couldn't digest food. Now, doctors told me I had a stomach viral infection. I had acute pancreatitis. I didn't have potassium and magnesium in my body. They took out a perfectly healthy gallbladder. But they could never determine why I kept having the pain I was having. And when I realized I couldn't digest food, she also said to me, there was something in your outside life that you couldn't digest either. And as I was getting healthier, taking some enzymes, I realized what I couldn't digest in my personal life was the infidelity of my marriage. So that ended. And when he left, the anger left with him. And the anger of the work environment got better. But when I left the work environment to go move to the ashram, I was happy. I was trying to release excess weight off of my body from having my second child. And after a year and a half of gyms, trainers, and diets, that didn't work either. Meanwhile, I'm sick. And when my marriage ended and I was by myself, I was truly happy. And if I wanted brownies for dinner, I ate them. And 40 pounds came off of my body in 3 months because I was truly happy for the first time. And I wasn't living in that state of anger. Now, I grew up in an angry household, but my marriage had less anger in it. So I thought I was doing better, but I thought that was a natural state to live. And it wasn't. But that's how I grew up. I didn't know any different until I did. And then I almost died. So I had what was in common. So I moved to, with myself, so I moved to the ashram to figure this out. And this was about the time I was looking into meditation. I started studying. I learned from the Zen Buddhist monk how to embody meditation and wanted to know more because I knew when I was in this state of mind, I felt different.
How long did it take for you to truly start to feel different on a regular occurrence? Like how long after practicing and learning about these principles did you start to see these incremental changes?
Um, Ever since I started. And it doesn't stop and it doesn't end. So I still do my meditations today. I still do various exercises, just like the one I shared earlier. That's one that I do throughout the day. So it's a constant exercise. It's just like when you're, going to the gym to get muscles and you're lifting weights and that sort of thing. You have to do the reps. You have to do the repetition to keep it going. So I'm far better today than I was 5 years ago, than 10 years ago, than 15 years ago when I first started. But each day there's always vast improvement. So most of the time I can stay in this state of mind. But if I feel myself slip out of alignment and go, whoa, wait a minute here, I have a little bit more stress than I normally do. For me, it's more foreign to feel something less than it was the other way around. And that's when I stop myself and do my exercises.
That's beautiful. And thanks for sharing that story too. It's incredible to see where you are now from
Mhm.
where you were in a place of not knowing what was going wrong. And it's insane how that physical manifestation was from something else that was going on in your life. And it's just so interesting how things on the outside can affect how we feel inside. And
Mhm.
I know several people who have undiagnosed conditions with their body. Like one friend of mine who is actually almost paralyzed from the waist down. No doctor knows why. No doctor can explain it, but he just is. And
Mhm.
we never explored this area of
Right.
thought and vibration to help heal that. And I guess you've really
Uh-huh.
got nothing to lose, right? Other than to try. So
And here's
thanks.
here's
Yeah.
how that piece works. Because if he was, and he'd understood his current state of beingness and the beingness he wanted to be in, this is how it gets discreated and recreated again. That physical level dis-ease is in the body vibrating at a certain frequency that he's matching to. So it created it. And when he changed that internal vibrational frequency on the inside to something different on a regular basis, that physical level dis-ease can't exist because it's no longer a vibrational match because he's in a different frequency. So, say paralyzed, say it's not moving forward, so not feeling supported. So when that energy of not feeling supported is changed to I am supported and I feel this way when I'm supported, and that gets anchored in, that paralyzation can't stay there because it says I'm not supported, but he just changed the rest of them to here's how it feels when I am supported. So it leaves. That's how it works.
Super interesting. And
Yeah.
we talked a lot about money and we talked about the interconnectedness between all these different areas. You spoke on relationships, releasing weight, all these things.
Mhm.
I guess the question would be, would you recommend to somebody to pinpoint the area of their life where they feel that disconnectedness, that area of their life where they're not happy, such as I'm sure there's a lot of people listening too who they want to release weight from their body, right? It might be to be lean, it might be to look a specific way, whatever it might be. Would you recommend these same principles to somebody with their health as you would with their finances and their overall mental state?
I absolutely would. And a lot of the words that we use for our health and how we want to be transfer over to the financial services world, transfers over to your money, to your wealth. So support is one of those words because we believe we need to be financially supported. But if you're not supporting yourself, that's going to spill over into your finances. A lot of times people, when they get down to the heart of the issue, they say things like, I want to know that I'm worthy, that I'm enough, that I matter, that I'm valued. And those are the same words we use in the financial services world. Here is your net worth. Here is your portfolio value. Your assets appreciated or maybe depreciated. Oh, and do you have enough money for XYZ goal? And if you don't feel like you're enough on the inside, you're not going to have enough on the outside with your money to fund your goal. So the words are even similar, and how you feel about one area of your life will cross over. And it's just like the example of the bank statement and that you're broke. It comes back to a base feeling of something. But when that changes, it changes all areas of your life.
Wow. So amazing. I want to, before I ask you what you're working on right now, because I'm super curious.
Huh?
You mentioned earlier masculine and feminine brain.
Yes.
I've never heard that before. What is that, and how does that relate to what we've been talking about?
Well, we have two hemispheres to our brain, right? We have a left side and a right side. The left side is an analytical, logical, sequential, step-by-step energy. And it results to what we consider a masculine brain. The feminine brain is the intuitive, listening, illogical, maybe the feeling side of things. It's not step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It's going step 5, step 3, step 27, so it's in a different order, but it's the feeling side. It's the loving, caring, nurturing side of ourselves. And it resonates to the right side of our brain. So the left side of the brain is our doing side, putting things into action. And the right side of our brain is our being side, the feeling, how to put those things into action and aligning that energy with it. So in the world, we get caught up with the doing. I'm always putting action out. But if we don't understand why we are doing the action, just the feminine brain, you're not going to be able to create so much on purpose. So we have these two concepts about manifesting and creating. Manifesting is a very feminine energy because it's here's what we want to have in the world. And creation is allowing it to come into existence. And so these are a couple of chapters that I write about in Financially Fit, my book, that talks about how to get the masculine and the feminine brain in alignment. So the masculine brain supports the feminine ideas.
Oh.
So you have the idea, you have the manifestation, that's the visual of the end result that you want, law of attraction type of stuff. But the how-to method is the action steps that you would put into step 1, step 2, step 3 to bring that into fruition. Our society has it backwards. They say, do it, and then you'll have it. But if you don't know what you want to have, which is the key to manifesting, you have to know, it's not ever going to come to you.
Yeah.
You have to have both. They work together. They work together that way.
And that really ties together everything we talked about too. You have to have the end result, but you also have to, when creating these goals, focus on what you can actually control, like with the book fairs versus selling 25,000 copies of a book. So the 25,000 copies of the book or a certain amount of money or any end result that we want, that's the feminine side of our brain. And then the masculine side is the how-to. What are we going to actually do to bring this to fruition?
Yes. You need both. You need both. Well, often what happens is and it also gets into a little bit with gender too, because there's men and women. And what happens is we expect the man to go out to work. They bring home the bacon. The woman takes care of everything. But now women have jobs too, and men stay home. So the roles have gotten crossed over. And there needs to be an ebb and flow balance. But within each person themselves, you have to have a balanced masculine and feminine brain. So when you understand what it is that you're wanting, the being side, then you can put into action into the doing side. But if you're just doing without understanding the being side, you're just doing and you're expending all your energy and you're not getting anywhere. And that's why we get tired and depleted and exhausted and have adrenal failure and restless leg syndrome, and people aren't sleeping because they're not taking that time to be and checking in with, am I on track for creating what I want to do? And that is where that whole study of meditation comes in, because it's closing off certain senses in the outside world to internalize on the inside.
So fascinating. Thanks for diving into that. Like I said, I've never heard of that explained in that way before, but it makes a lot of sense. And it definitely gives me and everybody else a different way of thinking about it. So I appreciate that. So what are you working on right now? What is something that you have that we can link to that would be a great resource for those listening to take what we've talked about and bring that even further?
Wow. Tomorrow on Short Talk TV, on Roku, it's like a TED Talk, but on video TV, I have a signature talk coming out called The Number One Secret to Becoming Financially Fit. So that's going to air live for the first time. But other projects that I am working on, I have several magazine articles coming out that are launching for second quarter. And then I am writing a book on the relationship category, because there's 3: health, wealth, and relationships. And putting together the relationship book, which I will probably release first quarter of next year. And then a little bit more training, and then going out to the live stage to share this message in front of live audiences. And that'll start in the fall.
Incredible. Congratulations on everything you're doing and have done and are working on. And it's beautiful how you're just sending these positive vibes and really just information that we haven't had the luxury of having. You're sharing that and helping people with it. So it's a beautiful thing. And I commend you for the work that you're doing. Where can we reach you and connect with you? Like, where's the best place to follow you right now?
You can either find me on my website at dawnacampbell.com, or you can just follow me on Instagram. That's probably the easiest place. And if you are more business oriented, I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, but pretty quick on Instagram. So I'll respond back.
Okay. Cool. I'll throw those links in the description, guys, so you can go check out Dawna. And the final question I have for you that I ask all my guests, and feel free to think about this. What is the number one change or positive improvement that you want to see your work have in the world? What is the transformation that you want to see happen?
One of the greatest gifts that come back to me is when I work with a client and they didn't believe it was possible because they had a disease or an illness such as cancer or diabetes, or maybe it was a financial situation they didn't think that they could get themselves out of. And it gets turned around and they are living their life with the dream that they always had, and they didn't know that they could. And then it comes up 4, 5, 6 years later, even still in social media, and they're living the life they were meant to live. The world became a better place, because it might just be one person, but they're in a different vibration. They're in a different frequency of happiness and living exactly what they wanted. So that's going to affect all the people within them and their life, because it will raise the vibration. And whether it's one person at a time or 10 people at a time, it's all about creating the world a better place. And we can do that by how we feel every single day.
It's a beautiful answer. And I'd have to agree with you 100% based on the work that I do as well. It's we're kindred spirits. So thank you very much for sharing that, Dawna. Dawna, thank you for being on the show today. And I hope to even have you back in the future to talk about your next book on relationships and everything else that you've got coming up too. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
A lot of you are asking, like, what's the number one way that you can support this show? The number one way is to engage. Hit the like button, subscribe, like the video so it gets shown to more people. But the number one way that you can really help this show to make a difference in even more lives, and I only want you to do this if the show truly brought you value, if it brought you one insight based on what we talked about with vibration, what we talked about with masculine, feminine energy and the hemispheres of the brain, and how you can achieve financial prosperity by pinpointing what you don't want, thinking about what you do want. So much was dropped in this episode. Only if it helps you, share this show with one person, with one friend who could use these same insights, who could use these same techniques, and allow it to help them, and share it with one person if it's helped you. Thank you so much for joining us every Monday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we bring you incredible guests and really anyone here to help you to live an extraordinary life. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better. I'll talk to you soon.